So I'm Leyley. I go by they, she pronouns. My social media, I use Instagram and YouTube for it's at real widow girl, widow with a W. My main TikTok is just widow girl, and that's on TikTok.
Thanks for introducing yourself and about your social medias where people can follow you. But do you want to introduce a bit more about yourself in terms of your being with divergent disabilities to age regression and a little space? Do you want to explore more of the things we're going to be talking about?
Okay, so my little age is 2 to 6. Normally I'm around 3 when I'm regressed. I haven't been officially tested for autism, but my occupational therapist who specializes in autism says I have it. They just can't give the formal diagnosis. But I do have neurospicy because I also have ADHD. My mental health, probably the things that are most prevalent is either the PT schizoaffective disorder, depression type. So I hear voices. I like to make a joke about my voices most of the time. My physical illnesses, I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a genetic connective tissue disorder, so it affects the whole body. But the things that it affects most are it gives me POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia, which affects my heart. It also gives me GI symptoms. So I talk about how I have IBS-D, which is diarrhea, which is one of the reasons I wear diapers. And I also have Crohn's disease and gastroparesis, which is a paralyzed stomach because of this Ehlers-Danlos.
And great thanks about your disabilities and about your age regression and about your incontinence. And do you want to get into about the age regression and the space side of yourself?
When I'm in little space, my favorite show is Sophia the First. I love how all the other Disney princesses show up in that show. I know everybody else loves Bluey, but I'm only on episode 11 of Bluey, so I can't say much for that. I like to color. I mostly use crayons, but I did just get some markers that were pretty nice. They have the dual edge where one side's thicker and one side's thinner. I wear diapers. I actually get my pull-ups medically prescribed to me from a doctor, so that's what I have mostly, but I really do love a nice ABDL adult diaper. They're thick and they hold up so much better than the medical diapers. But I've been
Yes.
a little since 17, probably younger than that. I introduced into what a little and what little space is by one of my friends, Elena, at that time.
How was it like at the age of 16 recognizing you identify and what was like that? I assume that you might have felt these things. I guess you felt yourself regressing before you learned the word. So your origin of how you discovered and started to recognize that within yourself.
So I always really liked pacifiers and sippy cups. I would take them from my younger sibling. And then I always liked to play with toys. One of my favorite toys was Polly Pockets, and then I would use Sweet Street houses, which were like little doll houses, and I'd play with them. And I would do that all the way up until high school. And I would want to play make believe things that most people wouldn't do at that age. I started college early at 17, and I met other people who were like me, and they're like, "You're a little." And they actually identify with the more ABDL side, where I don't see myself as an ABDL. I see myself as a medical diaper wearer, but I see myself as a regressor because I'm doing it to cope. I'm doing it to have that childhood moments and that development that I didn't really get because of trauma.
You met people who were skewed to more ABDL, and as you said, you more ABD progressed. And do you want to explain how that differs from being an age regressor to being able to find other people who you could relate to in real life?
Being an ABDL, which is adult baby diaper lover, it's more of a kink. It can be sexual, but it doesn't have to be sexual. But there's like a power dynamic. So it's an adult role play where you're regressing, where I regress. Literally, I am slipping to a childlike headspace, a PTSD flashback, but instead of flashing back to mental flashbacks, I'm literally flashing back to a younger age.
Do you wanna explain what that looks like for yourself?
So there's actually two types of regression that people identify with, and the first one is pure regression. Pure regression is a very happy escapism type regression where you're in a good headspace. And then there's impure regression. Impure regression is always involuntary, and that's more the trauma based, where you're literally the age or trauma is happening mentally when you impurely regress. So this is very emotional, and it helps you work through those feelings that when your trauma was happening, you were going through. So I would much prefer to pure regress. Pure regression, it really is just a safe space where I can be little and I can do childlike things, have childlike interests, eat childlike food, and just relax and trust my caregiver to take care of me and to do the adult things that need to be done. I have both. I regress pure and impure. For impure regression, it's often triggered by things that are like trauma triggers, slamming doors, screaming, and I go into this very nonverbal cave of just sadness, and it's hard for me to get out of that. So it really takes time for me to work through those emotions and get back to a better headspace.
I see how it can be like you would rather be in the pure headspace to pure regression and pure regression because as you said that there's the two spaces of it, and I assume by what you say that on social media when you're doing TikToks of when you do some within your little space, I assume that is mostly maybe always in that pure space where you feel safe and comfortable to be open up and where you feel actually willing to say that to other people. So is that the side of age regression to what you feel most comfortable sharing online?
Yes, definitely online, it's more of the pure regression. And you're going to see that from everyone because a lot of people don't post about their trauma. For me personally, one of my boundaries is I don't share my trauma online, mostly because it's very triggering to other people, especially when my audience is vulnerable. It's a lot of age regressors and caregivers and people. If somebody is little in their little space and they're a 6-year-old and then they see one of my videos and it's all about trauma, that's going to be really triggering to them. So I don't post about my trauma.
It makes total sense really because you want to feel that you got some control of how you say about yourself on social media and I guess it's probably feels a lot safer within yourself that can actually make sure that you feel happy or at least positive about feel entirely comfortable really with what you're saying about yourself in that experience. Because it's one of those things as you was listening like the what impure regression looks like. And as you said, we kind of going through the process of or seen as suspected to be autistic. And as you described the non-speaking episodes, as you said, sometimes it's shutting doors and slamming things. What looks like maybe in the line to a regression looks like maybe to some another witness a tantrum, but it's different like that because as I say, it's related to that mental trauma. If you potentially autistic as well. That is somewhat of a meltdown. So what is it like with that impure regression, but within other neurodivergent conditions?
With my neuro conditions, I have been diagnosed with sensory processing disorder. So a lot of it's, I can get overwhelmed and go nonverbal when there's really loud noises. Fireworks are really big for me. I have to literally wear like, sound deafening earphones to watch fireworks. There's other things like being sticky will overwhelm me. And I can slip into little space when I'm having like a sensory overload. And I think a lot of people who are autistic are also littles, even though they say don't infantilize autism. I feel like a lot of them have those childlike wonder and that childlike and like interests.
Yeah, I definitely see that because I see a lot of autistic people do share that experience. And as I say, especially when you start to unmask with being autistic, especially if you look at stimming, like the flappy hands, the dancing and stuff like that, stuff that you may do when you're in a you're more positive, pure regressed headspace. What could feel somewhat childlike expressions can be that of what autistic people may do when they start to unmask and start to stim, and which is quite an essential thing about being autistic. But as you said, definitely with the meltdowns and the impure regression traits, there is definitely potentially a link then between with some, of the age regression community being autistic or in a way neurodivergent themselves.
There's definitely a lot of age regressors on TikTok that I've seen that are also autistic. Sleepy Baby, which I forget what they changed their username to. Tiny Puppy, they're a really big one. And I think even Not Baby Mini, which they don't post a lot of age regression content anymore, but there's a lot of, it seems there's a link that a lot of people who regress are also autistic.
From being autistic, what have you learned from that, and how have you better understood your age regression and what age regression means?
Is it the RADS? I think it might be the RADS test to see how it would play out. And I was like in the 160 range, which I think anything over 80 was considered autistic. And I've been in the process of getting into an appointment. I actually was supposed to have my appointment, but I had gastric bypass surgery and I had some surgery complications, so I had to cancel my appointment, and now I have to wait 3 months to see if I can get back in to the doctor to test me for autism. But I with having sensory problems and having ADHD, a lot of it is a lot of overlap between symptoms of autism and symptoms of ADHD and sensory processing disorder. But a lot of it definitely then going nonverbal, the I don't like eye contact with people, especially people I don't know. The sensory issues, it all just it screams autism. And my doctors are like, yeah, but we need to send you to somebody who can actually test you for autism. And it's really hard as an adult female. I'm non-binary, but female AFAB person
Yeah,
to get diagnosed with autism because autism diagnosis is for boys.
yeah, because it's always been targeted in that specific stereotypical gendered stereotype of what people always expect what boyish behaviour looks like and not masculine behaviour looks like in autistic people. And as internet, I really find it's only been recently where we start to see any peeps of trans, non-binary, female women and girls get representation within the autistic community.
Yeah, they definitely doctors need to take a look at the diagnostic criteria because there's a lot of AFAB people and non-binary people who fit the autism diagnosis, but they're not getting it because they're not male.
When you're younger, like you had, I guess, even though like, we were still regressing, but I guess it did have an element of age dreaming in terms of wanting to use like stuff like pacifiers to all the different stuff like that. Would you say that some of that desire within childhood of wanting that comforts that you may have stopped using them, but you wanted to go back to using pacifiers and different stuff like that? Do you think it's something that being autistic, having those like certain sensory comforts, those things that help calm and soothe and relax you, especially with having mental health conditions. Do you think it's something that links to that experience of being autistic with those
I think with pacifiers especially, it's definitely like that age dreaming autistic thing because mouth stimming is one of the most common stims. In occupational therapy, they tell you to suck on straws and make air bubbles. And I know a lot of people say it's rude to make bubbles at the table, but apparently that's a really good sensory thing. And I think the pacifier thing is just gives you that mouth, that calming, sucking sensation that like through your mouth. And with age regression, I think a lot of it is age dreaming. So with age dreaming, it's more a safe for work role play. It's more like an act. It's more like you were playing house and you were the kid in the house. And I use age dreaming to slip into pure little space. So I will age dream and I'll act like I'm younger, and then I slip into that younger headspace, which is actually me being regressed.
And as you said then, like we had your occupational therapist recommending like straws or like sucking on using something like that. How do you think when you get like recommended stuff like that? Do you think that that is the best recommendations that occupational therapists are giving, or do you think that sometimes alternative things like pacifiers, as they make them for adult mouths, do you think it's something that is sometimes frowned upon, or like sometimes not as promoted in ways that it could?
Think the occupational therapists are doing their best to give people the tools that they know are in their toolbox. So with me going to occupational therapy, I was like, there's adult pacifiers and there's jewelry and there's other things to have that mouth stim without having to suck on a straw.
Yeah. And like, when was it that you started using pacifiers again? And when did you stop using them? And for your life, what has been like a story and your connection with them?
So I just use them on and off throughout my childhood. My brother is 6 years younger than me. So I would take his pacifiers when he was younger. And then when he grew up past pacifiers, I didn't really use them for a while. And then when I became in a like 17, 18, and I was on my own, I used pacifiers again. My first pacifier that I used as an older child, I actually got from the roller rink, and it was one of those light up pacifiers. I would use that often just to help me calm down, and I didn't really realize that was regression at that point because I was like 15, 16. So that really helped, and I realized that adult pacifiers existed. I had been using baby pacifiers, but when I started posting on TikTok and I found out there was age regression stores, I ended up buying pacifiers and they work so much. My favorite pacifier is actually my size 10 pacifier, which is bigger than most adult pacifiers. Most adult ones you get are going to be a size 6. It just fits in my mouth because I have a big mouth.
Yeah, I do find they are much better size because, like, I find that as like I tried like the 5 and the 6 before, and like when it like I find once you get like a size up, it's hard to go a size down ever again or put one in your mouth because, like, I'm like yourself, got big, like got quite big mouth, so the size 10 does definitely fit quite nice and inside my mouth, yeah, when I'm using them, and it's something that definitely do find helpful myself.
I have a size 12 pacifier, but that one's a little too big for me. But it also, that one's more like a latex pacifier, so the texture's different. I do use my bigger pacifiers a lot in my videos. My size 10 pacifier is missing right now. I have to clean my room.
Yeah, and you know what I said, we've been talking about your age regression for a bit, but how open do you find you are with your age regression? I know you are quite open online about it, and like said, you're quite prolific in releasing videos and putting out content. But how open do you feel you can be about it, and how safe do you feel about sharing your age regression online and also in real life?
I think I started posting around 23, 24, and I'm secure in who I am as a person. But if you don't have that security, there's definitely a lot of cyberbullying that happens, death threats that happen. and it's not the safest place to do. I have a lot of things set up on my TikTok to prevent that. I have word filters. Exact way to spell pedo is on my filter so that people cannot comment that. Or the things that I get bullied most for, if since they can't say that, is my teeth and my weight. They act because I'm a plus size person that there's nothing little about this person. And if I was still back in when I had I had an ED, eating disorder. If I was still back in that headspace and people were telling me these things, it wouldn't be a safe place online for me. But I've been in therapy since 2017, and I've worked through a lot of that. But I'm finding now that I've been posting on YouTube more that YouTube's also really toxic for age regression, and people want to act like you're faking your illnesses and your mental illnesses, and for me, my physical illnesses, like the reasons I wear diapers. I don't think for minors it's the safest thing to post, but if you're an adult and you feel safe, then it's okay.
Yeah, I do definitely find that in terms of social media, as you said, that we have received hostile, harmful messages and hate mail and bullying, when that's definitely true for a lot of the people in the for that age regression and ABDL communities, but also due to that, as you said, yeah, different people making that assumption whether it's attacking you by using the term pedo, with like how people perceive age regression and receive it in the most violent, toxic ways, using such hateful language. But it's something that social media platforms themselves, I notice with Instagram and sometimes TikTok, where certain age regressors or on the ABDL who have made their accounts clear to be for 18 plus users, or made certain information about who the audience is targeted to, and considered the online safety of others or engage with accounts. It's something that I definitely find that there are issues with pretty much all social media platforms for age regressors, and it's something that, being from a vulnerable community, as you said, that like yourself and many others, there's a lot of trauma and mental health conditions that people affected by their age regressors and even ABDL. And there's definitely something social media companies and online spaces do need to change.
I think one of the things that happens is people don't understand it, so they judge it. Age regression, you are literally mentally a child. It should never be sexual. You are a child, you cannot consent. But even with what I think all littles are valid. And I say this on my platforms, and people say that ABDL or DDLG is sexualizing children, but they're not. It is a role play, and they are consenting adults, and people don't see that. They see, hey, you're wearing a onesie, you're wearing a diaper, you're using a pacifier, you're sexualizing children, and that's not what's happening at all.
Yeah. And how, for people to understand a bit more about age regression, how do you think, what do you think are the things that people definitely do get on, and what are the lessons that people need to learn about age regression and consider about it?
I try to post a lot of educational type content on my page, and it gets repetitive on my part. If one more person learns that age regression is a coping mechanism and a trauma response, and they learn to accept it, it's helping so many people.
Yeah, I can see that you do make a lot of videos, and it's the case, as you said, that with each video somebody could see in your account for the first time, and maybe seeing an age regress online for the first time. So you may have some willing people who are maybe not as aware of age regression and might not seen that type of content before, a good chance to learn about age regression. But as you say, sometimes with with the repetitiveness, you might be explaining it to people who are just commenting for just like a reaction, and makes it hard then, like, I guess, to probably produce the content you would want if you keep on getting it from maybe certain accounts who are doing it from a more negative but less open minded position.
There's definitely accounts. I've had a lot of YouTube reactors react to my videos and say really mean things. Even some big names. What is it? Johnny and Johnny, or and then Blair White, and like all these people have reacted to me. Or I also got, what is that guy? I can't remember his name. I can't remember right now. But these big people on YouTube reacting to people who are regressing, and we're just trying to cope, and they're pretty much cyberbullying, and then their audiences will come after us in our videos.
Yeah, and since, as you said, it's like a trauma thing and comes from a place of, as you say, for yourself, you have depression and experience affective depression or type and stuff like that, and also being autistic. There's a lot of the time then the age regress discrimination can be a bit ageist and ableist more so definitely. And you can even see it, I've seen it even from people maybe saying it seems interviewed somebody before who's been like categorized as fake disorder cleanse, and you got different like social media platforms where people just, taking your content and doing something malicious with it. So what are the things that have really helped you in terms of working through some of the nastiness online? And what are the things that help yourself in terms of self-care while you're dealing with all this, things online?
I just remembered the guy name. I got Ben Shapiro'd over my regression. For me, I think setting up boundaries and having people that support you. So for me, when I go live on TikTok, I have a mod team, and we have two mod chats so that if something happens, they can type in the mod chat and get more mods to show up. I've actually been kind of shadow banned lately, but for a while there, I was getting lives that had hundreds of people in them, and they're all just making fun of me. And that can really hurt people's self-esteem, but I think having that set up is one of the best things. And then, like I said earlier, there's word filters that you can set up. So I have filters on live for words that people can't say, also for my videos. TikTok needs to work on their mod thing more, though. I would say my mods should be able to delete comments on my videos, but they can't do that yet. And so right now they can really only help during my lives. And then sometimes if I get a video that's viral, they'll comment and respond to people's comments for me, especially if I'm getting overwhelmed. But a lot of it with just coping and self-care, I do hobbies. So I like to knit. I've been knitting on live a lot. I made a couple scarves for Mother's Day. I also really like to take baths, and I do like witchy baths. So like bath salt that's like with an intention. Or I like to read a lot. I have a book club that stems from my mod group, and we just support each other. And when it gets too much, I have my mods turn off the comments, because normally when we hit like 100 people and the live is viral, we'll just turn off the comments. And then if somebody's little, we try to protect them and keep it a safe
Yeah.
space.
Especially then when you've got like hundreds of comments and it makes it harder to go through. So I guess it is really important then, definitely online, if you've got that, find yourself a community, because, and I think one thing you find is very important to post about it, and I guess maybe what in making content and keeping your channel going, I will ask for what does help you keep you motivated to have your TikTok account open. I'll get onto that in a quick sec, but I guess it's that thing with having, being able to help other people learn more about their age regression and not feel too alone in themselves. because it can be quite an isolating thing because, as I said, he went to college with people who had a little space of ABDL and within a similar community. It's not often the case for people. So what's really been the sticking things of keeping going with it, with doing your social media and TikTok videos?
What keeps me going the most is when I get a comment like, my friend age regresses and you explained it so well to me, or you're my favorite little space content creator. You made me feel valid. And those comments, those couple comments that happen rarely, are the comments that are like, okay, this is something, I'm doing something good and I'm helping people.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing about making content like this on social media, because it's just like that thing where you might feel a bit alone in it, because like it's that thing, as it's still not quite normalized for us into that helps yourself being autistic to have adult pacifiers, and it's not something that just occupational therapists knew about as a thing that could maybe help yourself. But it's that thing of when it's not known about and talked about as much, sometimes you feel that these feelings are a bit weird and you don't know where these things coming from, and you think, is this okay? Is this normal? Is this right? There's all those questions, and finding a community is the most important thing to it, I assume.
Think a lot of people don't know if what they're doing is normal, and age regression should be normalized. I keep in my bio link tree medical articles. There's 3 of them that people can print off and share to their therapist if their therapist doesn't know about age regression, or share to their family if they want to come out as a little. And these articles explain this is a trauma response, this is a coping mechanism, this is normal. And I think that helps. Even sometimes people who just completely disagree with age regression, if I can sit down with them, have a conversation, and get them to actually do research, which if they're a hater and they're trolling, they're not going to. But if they're a hater and they're willing to learn, a lot of people will have turned around and been like, oh, this is a real thing.
And so for yourself, as I said, you've been in therapy and therapy has helped you expose some of these things. How was it explaining your age regression, if you have, to your therapist, and what's it been like to talk about this to other people where you might have not known that your therapist could have been as open or understanding about this, and what's your experience been like of talking to a person in person about age regression?
My therapist didn't know it by the name age regression. They knew it by inner child therapy. They do play therapy and stuff in their office, art therapy, pet therapy, and they do all these different types of therapy in their office. So this was just one more thing that they're like, oh, we do play therapy. If you want to come in and you want to be little and you want to have play therapy, we can do that. And my therapist she's great. She's 2 doctorates. I'm really lucky to have my therapist because she's just really open and understanding. And if I just had to explain what I was doing, and they're like, yeah, that's inner child healing. That's fine. And they were very supportive of it. And I'm pretty lucky. My family is pretty supportive. My sister, my cousin, and my mom all follow my TikTok. And they're like, what you're doing is what you need to do to heal. And that's what matters.
Oh, that's amazing. How you've been able to say this with your close family and that they follow your TikTok. Because I know for like some age regressors, they don't have the privilege and ability to talk about this with their family and of them supported in such a way. So what's been like when you actually had them talk about it, and more so when you know that they accepted it for with yourself, and how did that feel, and how do you think that that is for some of your followers? They maybe the experience you may have had from your followers sharing about their own experience of telling people about their own regress?
So a lot of my followers' families just don't support it, or they don't know how to come out of the toy box, which is what we call it.
Mm.
Instead of the closet, it's coming out of the toy box when you open up and tell people you're little. And so a lot of the times I get comments, they're like, "Oh, my parents found my passies and they threw them away." And I feel really sorry for those people. My mom is super supportive. She's TikTok's little talk's mom. She's everybody's mom. She's even made videos and explaining from her point of view what age regression is and how I've explained it to her and what she knows about it. Seeing that there are people who do support it is what's helpful. But if you're not safe and you're not in a safe place and you don't have somewhere to go, just be cautious about coming out of the toy box. If you have to stay in the toy box to be safe, then just wait till you're old enough and you have your own place before you tell everybody you're little.
You're like able to talk about this and have your family support yourself. You may be able to use a pacifiers in front of them, maybe. How open do you find yourself being able to use certain comfort items that may be associated with being babyish or from that regressed space? How comfortable you might be able to use that around other people and
Around my family, I can feel free to use my comfort items. Sometimes my sister has 3 kids. My nieces are 7 years old. And the other day, they wanted to see my scars from my gastric bypass surgery. And so when I pulled my shirt up so they could see the stomach scars, they saw my pull up. And they're like, "Is that a diaper?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I just explained it to them. I have tummy problems and I have to wear those. And so they're like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." And the same thing is if I want to use my pacifier around somebody, if I want to, before my surgery, I had my comfort stuffed animal, the one that comes with me to the hospital every time I go to the hospital. And they're like, "Okay, these are just part of who they are."
yeah, when you're like in the hospital, is it something that you feel comfortable enough using your pacifiers there?
Yes, I have actually tried to bring my pacifiers to the psych ward hospital, and they won't let me use them. I don't know why, but I've requested them and tried to ask to be able to use them because that's my calming item. But for the stay I had for my gastric bypass, I had my pacifier and I had a stuffed animal with me and a blanket. And those are comfort items. They just make me feel safe.
How does that feel like within the what are essentially comfort items if you've been seen for your mental health? How does that feel? What can help you calm yourself being denied for that?
I was disappointed in the psych ward for not letting me use my comfort item. Maybe they think that I'm gonna choke on it or something. I don't know. I know there's a lot of things in the psych ward they don't let you use knives, but that makes sense to me because people self-harm. But I'm not gonna harm myself on a pacifier.
Designed for adults, but still a product that designed for babies and children. So it's definitely not something that would be something that would be severely harmful or anything exactly harmful at all.
Backtracking, I have
Yeah.
slipped into little space at the mental hospital, and I think they just assumed I had dissociative identity disorder and that I was a little fronting. But then I explained to them why I was in a big headspace. Oh no, I'm a regressor and it's like a PTSD flashback. But the medical stuff, I keep my little space mostly to myself. I know mostly do it at home where I feel safe. I have been little in public, but it's something that happens like on accident. Say we're going to Walmart and we go to the toy aisle and I'm going to pick out a stuffed animal. I might pure regress from that positive trigger, but I do my best not to, just because people don't understand it. And it is a really vulnerable headspace. So when I regress, normally it's either at home or in my therapist's office.
You need to use medically prescribed diapers for your incontinence. Is it something that you wanted to use before, or since you started progressing from a young age, or is it something that you only went to the start? You only felt you started to win because of that medical reason? Has there always been something you wanted to and able to enjoy or find pleasure in it, or is it you something see it more as just for medical purpose?
It started as a medical thing on and off throughout high school. I would have really bad GI episodes. and I would need them. I get my pull-ups prescribed. I have three types of incontinence. It's fecal and bladder incontinence, but I have IBS-D, which is irritable bowel syndrome, diarrhea typing, and then I have Crohn's disease, and then I also have something called neurogenic bladder. With neurogenic bladder, my brain is not getting the right neurological signals that say when to hold your pee or when not to hold your pee. With having all those things, a lot of the times I have accidents, and it's just easier to have a pull up on when you have an accident than have underwear on. I do really enjoy ABDL diapers because they hold a lot better. They hold up a lot better. They fit a lot better. They're thicker. Like when I wear just a medical pull up, a lot of the times I wear two at once because the extra layering is more protective. But I know a lot of people who wear diapers just for their little space. I know a lot of people who wear them just as a comfort item. It's pretty much like a walking bathroom. And to get over that headspace of, hey, this is either underwear or, hey, this is a bathroom, it's like the difference between people who use them and don't use them.
So it's that thing you feel like still were an age regressor, but you're experiencing any incontinence. I guess it's something that you don't feel that you would have that desire to use them.
I do like to wear the nicer diapers when I'm regressed and when I'm little, just because they help me feel baby, because I feel cute. They got a little cute design, and it's just they're a lot cuter, a lot prettier than just a medical pull-up if they're really plain. But the diaper use itself is medical. I think with a lot of people's diaper uses, it starts off as medical, but then it turns into just enjoying diapers.
Previous guest I had on this podcast she's called Lavender Vein, about her experience as being trans and also her autistic experience with being an age regret in the ABDL community. But like yourself, she said that sometimes she had that experience of being an age where she sometimes slipped into progression within public, where it's more related to the experience of being autistic and like the non-speaking episodes to an ability to communicate for yourself and maybe feel not as safe and maybe relying on a more of like a caretaker situation where you just somebody who could look out for your own safety. Do you think you also may be involved to have that pure age regression in public space that could be more just due to autistic traits?
For me, I go nonverbal pretty often in public. Like things just overwhelm me. And I try not to go in public alone. I always try to bring a safe person. And my caregiver has actually been learning sign language because when I go nonverbal, I can sign and like basic sign language like water, toilet, I'm gonna go to the car, just like simple little things so he can understand me when I go nonverbal.
As from what we've been discussing, I can obviously see a lot of obvious traits of being autistic. But going back to your childhood as an undiagnosed autistic person, do you think that there are many things from your childhood that you probably now are like medium sport needs to high sport needs? Or is there things that you definitely think that some trauma, I won't ask you too about really your trauma sets, but do you think there are elements to it about being undiagnosed or autistic and that some things within your childhood could have been noticed as you've been autistic?
Yes. A lot of the things in my childhood were probably like high support needs that they didn't realize were high support needs. And I think part of that is I wasn't getting that high support that I needed as an autistic person. That now part of the reason I regress is because I didn't have that support needs. My support needs were not being met as a child. And I think a lot of the reason age regressors have caregivers is because caregivers are meeting our support needs that we need.
Yeah. And what do you think that that autistic traits look like as a from when he was in childhood?
I think a lot of it is problems understanding social situations, sensory issues, attention issues at school. I think they need to look more deep into the traits that come with just general autism instead of more male specific traits.
And as you all said, you got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Do you want to explain about that condition you have? As it's not been something that I have had a guest to be able to explore more in depth on, like the podcasts I have hosted, but it's something that I want to explore and ask questions upon. So do you want to explain what Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is?
So it's a genetic connective tissue disorder. There's actually 13 types. I have what is called the hypermobile type, which kind of presents as my joints being overly stretchy and too loose. They move too far past where they're supposed to move. And it causes a lot of injuries. So right now I have a sprained ankle, and that's because my ankle stretched past where it was supposed to stretch. So when you have Ehlers-Danlos, a lot of the time you get a lot of physical therapy because you have to learn how to keep your joints together. A lot of us wear braces, but the thing is it makes all your joints and stuff overly stretchy. The joints in your heart, the joints in your stomach, like all those connective tissue, it literally can make it stretchy and it causes a lot of side effects. The most common ones that people notice are mast cell, which is an allergy thing where your body's responding to allergens that are not actually there. But it could be anything. You could respond to water one day, and then the next day you could respond to mold. And then there's also gastroparesis, which is a paralyzed stomach where your stomach is not digesting food at the proper rate. It can be completely paralyzed. My sister's is completely paralyzed and she is feeding tube reliant, or it can be partially paralyzed like mine is. And basically, that kind of presents as a lot of throwing up, and my teeth are going bad because of the acid in my mouth. And then the POTS, or just in general, dysautonomia, which is dysfunction in your autonomic nerve system, which runs your heart, your blood vessels, your nerve systems. And with POTS, I don't have enough blood circulating through my body. So that sometimes when I'm standing up, I am fainting because I don't have enough blood to circulate to my brain at that point in time. So for me, my main treatment for that is I get infusions. And the infusions replace some of that blood volume with saline, which is close to what blood is made up of.
And I know from what is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome online and could follow many different accounts within a disabled and neurodivergent community have become much, much more aware. And I know it's such a complex condition, as said, that can give you a diagnosis of POTS and affect all the different tissues within your body. You said there were 13 types, such a complex condition, but it's seen as quite rare. I possibly think that maybe it isn't as rare as maybe like the statistics so far it's underdiagnosed, I assume. How easy was it to get diagnosed and find out you had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome?
There's actually about every 1 in 5,000 people has Ehlers-Danlos. It's rare, but it depends which type you actually have. The hypermobile type is the least rare type. The most rare type, I think, is vascular, which is almost dealing with all your heart valves. I do not have that type. Luckily, that type is really dangerous to have. But when you see somebody who has it, it is genetic. My mom has it. My sister has it. We think my brother has it. We're not positive. And then my nieces have it, my sister's kids. When you see it in a family, it's going to be more common because if one person has it, it's genetic.
And as you explained a bit how it affects yourself, how was yourself? How was you diagnosed with the condition?
I was actually diagnosed with pot and stomach stuff first. I've had stomach issues really bad since teen years, and then my POTS started acting up my early 20s. I had all these connecting things, And they're like, why are you so sick? And I got sent around to, what is it called? Infectious disease to see if there was something causing it. I got sent to rheumatology, and the rheumatologist was like, you have a high score on the Beighton scale. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but basically it's like how far your joints move. And so I actually got referred to somebody who specializes in connective tissue disorders. And so when I went to go there, they're like, you have EDS. You really have EDS. And it took a while to get diagnosed, though. It probably took 3 years to of different. They're just, what do you not have at this point? So they're like, okay, you don't have this, you don't have this. Okay, you have these. And it takes a while to get diagnosed. It's really hard to get diagnosed as an adult because, at least where I live, the children's hypermobility clinic doesn't take people over 18. And so when I was over 18 when I got diagnosed, I had to go 2 hours to a different hospital to get diagnosed.
Yeah, and I think probably that makes it. I think sometimes with how hard it is to get diagnosis and so many barriers to get a diagnosis, that maybe there probably is like a margin of error sometimes, the statistics of like how many people are affected by the condition. Your doctors have to work for a list of so many different conditions of what it could have been. And it's like something that I think most people don't lack awareness of, especially, and I think it's like something that maybe some doctors, GPs maybe might not have the best understanding of what it is. And I guess sometimes it's a bit of a postcode lottery or lottery of a living to actually get diagnosed and get referred to a specialist. So how, how do you find how accessible do you think the services are? Do you think how much do you think people know about it?
A lot of doctors don't even know what Ehlers Danlos is. But I will say that my nieces, they're 7, they were diagnosed really fast with it because me and my sister were already diagnosed. So if you have a family member who has EDS and you're showing symptoms, they're like, oh, yeah, you have it. But if you're the first person, so I got diagnosed before my mom and my sister, it was really hard for me and then not as hard for them because they already had the markers that they knew I had.
How's that? I guess then that's the thing probably for like when it comes to your mother, then it's that thing of she must have been like living a lot longer without having that condition diagnosed. But what do you think is the understanding of the other people's experiences with it, the other people you might have interacted with it online about the experience of people's understanding of the condition and the ability to get ignored.
It's rare. It's hard for people to just understand what it is. It's hard to explain what is connective tissue. Some people are like, you should only have this because of your connective tissue, but literally all your cells in your body are made of connective tissue. So it's literally something that affects your whole self.
I think probably that is something that can be a lot harder to understand because it's like, as said, then it can be made up of certain combined conditions and traits. But what are the things that people like? How do you think people learn more? What are the things that people must learn about it? What are the things that people get wrong? And what do you think are the things that people need to focus on about learning it and the priorities of getting to understand it more?
Unless you actually have it, I feel like the thing that's most important to learn about is actually the Beighton score, which is a flexibility hypermobility score. And if you have a positive Beighton score, you can have way more than just Ehlers-Danlos. You can have a bunch of different connective tissue disorders. Looking for that as a sign, especially in kids, where it's going to be easier for them to be diagnosed, just to know what the Beighton score is. And the 3 most common things that if you have a positive Beighton score are Ehlers-Danlos, and then Marfan syndrome, and osteogenesis imperfecta. And there's a lot of connective tissue disorders you can have if you have a positive Beighton score. And people don't think about it when their kids are doing the splits. Or the one common thing is the thumb sign. It's your thumb touching your wrist on the same hand.
Yeah.
And people don't think, oh, that's weird. They just think, oh, that's a cool party trick. And party tricks can injure you. So it's kind of just being aware of that.
What are key things would you like to see medical services or GPs improve on understanding, and maybe things could be changed for the better to gain people of the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, people who could have it, they get diagnosed, get treatment, be understood with it? What are the things that really need to be improved upon?
They really need to be better about letting people get braces. I have wrist braces, and then when I injure myself, right now I have a ankle brace on. But with Ehlers Danlos, a lot of it's the way your joints are supposed to be is how you treat it. One of the things I do is when I stand up, I hyperextend my knees, and so I have to learn to bend them. And if you have a brace that's keeping it in the way, holding it in the way it's supposed to, you're a lot less likely to get injured. And for some reason, it's so hard to get medical professionals to get you braces. So another common thing is people dislocating their finger joints because of how they're holding a pen. So ring joints, they're like $300 a piece. There's something that's so simple because it's just two little strips of metal and it can hold your joint in and prevent that injury.
It's mad. It's something that it's been made far more cheaper if it's just for little fingertip things and just small bits of metal, really, for it. It's true of medical and disabilities in general for any treatment or resources, things that can help people with different medical conditions is actually that cost, and it does make it harder for getting diagnosis and getting P's or getting certain tools that can help you with your symptoms.
I've seen in private Facebook groups about my conditions that some people have been making their ring splints on a 3D printer. And that would be like a cheaper option for medical staff to learn how to use instead of using real metal.
And I know, like, it's a condition that I've seen a lot of people who are autistic being diagnosed with themselves. Do you have any understanding about how common it can be within neurodivergent autistic people?
Not really sure about Ehlers-Danlos being common in autistic people. There are a lot of comorbidities, but I don't think they have any listed for mental health conditions or autism. A lot of it's more like the stomach stuff, the IBS, the Crohn's disease, neurogenic bladder. A lot of the conditions I have are comorbidities. It's possible that it's common in autism, but I'm not really sure.
Don't you think that the screenings can be improved and actually assessing people for traits of Ehlers-Danlos?
I think just testing for general hypermobility so that you can protect the joints while somebody's younger than waiting until they're already injuring themselves.
We got like a Discord community where you chat with people who you enjoy getting to know. Do you share about your Discord community?
So mostly they're just like the boundaries. Our Discord server is an 18 plus server. We keep it mostly safe for work. We do have specific sections for adult only stuff, which is like 420 stuff or drinking stuff. And if you want to post kink things, we have a specific section to post that in. But the rest of the server is safe for work. It is an adult server. We do ask that people wait till they're 18 to join just because we have people in their 30s and 40s, and a 40-year-old doesn't want to be talking to a 17-year-old.
There's level of safety and understanding for younger people entering like a community of adults. You know, you're still trying to learn and navigate through it, and actually bit of vulnerability to.
I would like to say that the community doesn't have predators, but I know that's not completely true. There are people out there who are trying to be caregivers to minors when they're in their 30s. And so it just keeps everybody safer. I have a lot of minors who follow me because one of the things is I let people follow me. I just do not private message minors.
On your social media, in particular TikTok, not your Discord, you've got over 84,000 followers. How does it feel to have such a high number of followers to such a large community of people, as I think you're one of the most followed TikTok creators within the age regression community? So how does it feel to build very big presence?
I have worked really hard to build my community. And I'm gonna be honest, I've been a little sad lately because little talk in general is very shadow banned on TikTok. On my backup account, I have 10,000 followers, and there's been videos that are only getting 30 views. And I work really hard to make sure I'm posting content every day. I make sure I go live 3 times a week. And on my main channel, my videos have only been getting 300 to 600 views, and that's ridiculous when I have on my main channel 84,000 followers.
It's something that I think you've got well over 1,000 different videos on TikTok. So yeah, it would be quite disappointing after all those years to have that shadow banning going on and that censorship, because I noticed that other age regressors or people who often know necessary texts and things on their social media just to have their accounts being deleted and deactivated. At the minute, I notice it's been going on, and it's something that platforms even subscription. I think I was like saying about when we were talking about your like having 84,000 like TikTok followers on social media, and for being like one of the biggest people on the platform or on the social media. You were saying you were like shadow banned, and I know it's something that I've seen on Instagram and maybe TikTok of people within the age regression and ABDL community have been either shadow, had the accounts did or deactivated because of breaking those child protection rules and stuff like that, even though it's something that they labelled up and like made clear warnings of protection. And it's something that, do you think it's something that you worry yourself with a platform like TikTok where they could censor something like that?
Well, I've actually been banned on TikTok, I think once, and then I appealed it and got my account back. But a lot of the times there's certain videos that get flagged. Anything where I'm wearing a diaper, people will flag and report. And so I used to post videos of me just dancing around in my diaper and having fun, and I don't post that anymore. I'm also just afraid because the United States might be banning TikTok in general. So I've been moving my content onto YouTube. I had 500 total viral videos, and now I've been slowly posting 10 to 15 a day onto YouTube to get most of my viral content onto YouTube instead.
It's got that like that issue of the concerns whether it could be banned in the USA because that concern about safety with the platform, and it's something that platforms can quite politicise, and a concern about whether that be still in existence in the USA or will it be sold or wherever. And so how do you feel as a content creator yourself who's built up such large following and community to have that risk of losing your entire following base on a platform like TikTok, but not just that, other people from America losing that platform where they made such communities to be not able to find that content on a platform like that.
Honestly, I'm really disappointed in America. There's no reason for them to want to ban TikTok when they're not banning things like Facebook that are also tracking you. And there's a lot of people whose businesses rely on TikTok. I don't really have a business, but there's small creators who are literally TikTok is their livelihood. And I was making money on TikTok. I was in the original creator fund, and I was making like $100 a month, which isn't a lot, but like that adds up. And then they changed it to the creator fund beta, And so the beta, it has to be like original audios and it has to be long form videos. They have to be over a minute. And so I've only made 64 cents on it since I've been in the beta. And so I'm not really making money off of TikTok. I would really love to see my YouTube grow big enough for me to make money on YouTube, but we'll see. That'll be something I'll have to wait on.
With YouTube Play, is a bit more chance to get money off actually uploading videos and getting like views and whatever, because I know we've talked, with say any random user, it's just like uploaded a video and all of a sudden that they're uploading videos and without being in any like content creator programs where you can't get the money from the views that you could have, like even 500,000 views and not even get any money off it. But if YouTube, if you get like a number like that, able to make some sort of money off it with YouTube, I think there is not like to get such a widespread reach easily, because you're like having to navigate and search for certain accounts, not having like that scroll feed for you to pop up on somebody's feed. I guess that's something that with TikTok you can easily create like a shop or something like that. But how do you feel that with YouTube now having to recreate an entirely new audience and rebuild that up from scratch as like the soul's primary space for uploading your videos now?
So on YouTube, you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. I actually have 1,000 subscribers already. I'm just trying to build up watch hours. So I've been making videos once or twice a week and then also posting my YouTube shorts, which are all my TikTok videos. I don't know if I'll ever hit that watch hours. There's really great YouTubers already out there that make little content. One of my favorite is my friend Meredith or Baby Slam. I've been posting a lot of reels. Most of my TikToks I've been transferring into reels. And I would love to make money on YouTube. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but if TikTok is banned, that's where my content will be getting moved to.
You said that you had some people turning your TikToks as reaction videos and trying to like make fun of you in insult offensive way. But how do you think, as you listed, we got people like Ben Spiro's made videos on age regression in a nasty way. So how do you feel about being on the same platform as people like them, Ben Spiro? Does that feel a bit of a concern with you to that they're not entirely great safeguarding people from certain online abuse?
I will say that YouTube, I've already got a lot of hate comments. And so I want to be able to build up a positive, safe community like my TikTok. And I don't know if that'll happen on YouTube. I know there's some great YouTubers already out there. And then I feel like they were only reacting to my viral videos on TikTok. So if I don't go viral on YouTube, I don't think they're going to have anything to react to in the first place.
How do you hope that you'll be able to use your social media going forward?
I honestly think that if TikTok gets banned, I'm gonna be really disappointed and want to give up. But the good comments that I get, the ones that feel like I'm supporting them and making them feel valid, are the only really real reason I continue. Sure, people can find me on Instagram or find me on YouTube and follow me there, but I don't know if I'll ever have as big as a platform as I do on TikTok.
What would you say is comfort space, the most calm, relaxed, comfort and pacified, in terms of what are the things that make you feel so calm and soothed?
Honestly, plushies, stuffed animals, I collect them. I have over 179. I think that's what my count was on my YouTube video. But my caregiver makes me feel safe and comforted. I really like the smell Sweet Pea from Bath and Body Works. That makes me feel comforted. My pacifier definitely is my number one comfort item. And I haven't been able to use it since my gastric bypass surgery. I have to wait 2 or 3 months before I can use it again, and that's been challenging.
I know that for a lot of videos on TikTok are of you using pacifier, something that you habitually use for a lot of the time. So I guess it has felt like something quite difficult not to be able to use it.
I've been failing at not using it because it is my number one comfort item. But the problem is when you have gastric bypass surgery, they don't want air to get pushed in, and the sucking motion will pull air into your stomach. And so I've been using it as sparingly as possible. But
Mhm.
I'm also not allowed to use straws. And so I've been trying to find sensory outlooks with my fidget toys or a swing or a rocking chair and other ways to get that sensory input.
Since I've been able to get promotion codes from Pacifier Architects and they promoted this podcast on their social media channels, I wouldn't mind getting some of the benefits of using a pacifier when far.
Mouth stems, probably the number one thing for autistic people and neurodivergent. I've also seen people use pacifiers to stop smoking because the cigarette is like an oral stem to them, and so they replace that habit. I've also used them, they were originally made to stop snoring, and I tried using them on my boyfriend because he snores. It helped a little bit until he spit it out at me.
What are the things that, you know, from trying so many different pacifiers are the ones for you and the place, like a place they would recommend buying them from, and maybe if it's like pacifier addict, what are the things you may like from the pacifiers, or would you recommend about trying somewhere like the pacifiers?
So I have it's Littlings Knickknacks, and I have a code. So if you're first just starting out, they don't do customs, but they do Littling lottery, and my code is just little girl, so people can get 10% off, and they're pretty reasonably priced. But if you want different size pacifiers, you should really go to Passy Addict because they have everything from a size 4 to a size 12. And if you have a really small mouth, or say you're somebody who's younger, you can use the size 4 instead of a size 6. But most Passy places where you're going to get customs, they're going to be a size 6. And so size 6 isn't for everyone. Like I
Yeah.
said, the size 10 feels best for me.
To remind you, with the pacifieraddict.com, you can use the discount code Pacifying pod spelt with no spaces, PACIFYINGPO. The discount for brand new customers, great sizes for all the reasons you may become a pacifier addict, with the biggest range of pacifiers for those beyond the ages of most retail pacifiers designed for smaller mouths.
I think the size 10 is like the best fit for myself. It feels like the most natural and it feels in a way, even though we said it's something that can make people feel like give that little space of regress space. But if they were entirely normalized within society, it's an item that kind of feels like relaxing, but not in a way that society normally looks at them wrongly, because I think that the size 10 in particular for me felt the most often had some people go for jewellery or red, but the best for the sensory stuff. And
A lot of people who are first starting out with little space will use baby pacifiers, but the problem is baby pacifiers will move your teeth. Where
yeah,
an adult pacifier sits in the back of the palate and it actually doesn't move your teeth.
like a size 10 and it's best comfort, and which is felt quite like that.
But jewelry is something that's also great, especially jewelry is more accepted for adults to use. You could be like, "Hey, I'm in school and I want to use something while I'm studying," and they'll be like, "Oh, jewelry is great. You can just wear it around your neck and have it with you." But pacifiers should be more accepted for all ages.
What are the things summarize this into when people to take away your
Something I really want people to know is diapers are literally for everyone. And just because you wear diapers doesn't make you ABDL. People wear diapers for lots of reasons, a lot of them medical reasons. And just because I'm wearing medical diapers doesn't mean I have to identify as an ABDL. And just that those are valid. Everybody's little space is going to be different. There's not one way to be a little.